Welcome back, Helldivers. Today's lore video is going to be a little bit different. Rather than doing extensive research and then writing out a script, I thought I would just read through the Helldivers contract of employment and kind of make some notes here and there. Just kind of exploring the world of Helldivers 2 together. So in Helldivers 2, there's a contract of employment that you can actually find near the end of the tutorial. It's placed on a plaque in the graduation chamber. I don't have that up right now, but I do have the contract itself, which somebody has so painstakingly and generously transcribed from in-game onto the wiki. And so I thought we would take a read through this contract and see what we can figure out. The following contract is made between and entered into by the Helldivers Division of the Super Earth Armed Forces, hereby referred to as the Enlister, and the individual who has successfully completed their preliminary Helldiver training as set forth in Exhibit A of the Super Earth Armed Force Recruitment and Retention Manual, Part 27-B-10264, hereby referred to as the Enlisted. The following contract is entered into willingly, and the enlisted confirms that they have the authority to enter into such agreement at this time, being sound of mind and body, of legal age, and of citizenship grade E or above. Okay, first off, I think it's important to realize that somebody inside of Arrowhead Studio had to write this entire document here, and it's not the shortest thing in the world, and it's got some pretty complicated language in it that you would find in an actual, employment contract. So I have to say, I'm very, very impressed. This is just yet another example of how the world of Helldivers 2, when you jump in the game, you may kind of think, it's very simple, it's very kind of to the basics, it's just about shooting bugs and bots, which it is, but there are these pieces of world building and lore building that really have been created and crafted with a lot of care. I'm not going to read through every single line because then this video would just be super boring, so I'm going to kind of sift through here and pick out some really, really highlights that I think are important. So in section 1.2, it reads, the services performed by the enlisted for the enlister shall include but are not limited to active combat operations, which may include but shall not be limited to raids, deployments, invasions, sorties, forays, assaults, blitzes, incursions, onslaughts, liberations, raisings, flattenings, and nukings. Non-combat operations, which may include but shall not be limited to parades, interviews, singings and appearances, executions, both summary and otherwise, interplanetary transportation, including the escort of civilian democratic vessels, and any activities deemed necessary in the pursuits of the aims identified by the enlister. Like, once again, this is kind of where this satire comes into the world of Helldivers 2. You have things like, deployments and invasions, assaults, blitzes. I love that there's raisings and flattenings and nukings. And then it also talks about, parades, interviews, singings, and appearances, as well as executions, which you can actually hear in another lore video that I created, that Super Earth does partake in public executions for, free thinkers. It's interesting here in section 1.3, it talks about the Class 6 Super Destroyer Series Crewed Interplanetary Combat Vessel, hereby referred to as the Super Destroyer. Upon the termination of the contract of the enlisted, command of the Super Destroyer will be transferred to the next eligible enlisted in the order designated by the serving shipmaster, the enlister, and the authorized command structure. So it's interesting to see that when a Helldivers contract is ended, which we'll get to how that can happen in just a minute, that their Super Destroyer is then given off to someone else. It's interesting at the end of section 1.3, it talks about that if there are damages caused to the Super Destroyer, that those repairs shall be subtracted from the martyrdom payment due to the heirs or successors of the enlisted, and then that it refers to section 2 as compensated. So basically, as a Helldiver, if you break or kind of destroy your Super Destroyer in a way, your heirs, your children, the people who succeed you, will be liable to pay that out of the martyrdom payment that they are given when you pass away. Alright, so in section 2, we read that for the performance of the services outlined within the schedule set forth in Appendix A, the Helldiver shall receive monetary compensation for the services rendered, The compensation shall vary in line with the services performed. The enlister reserves the right to, at any time and with no prior notice, make amendments to the scheduled payment. So basically, Helldivers are paid for what they do. They get a monetary compensation for what they do out there. But the enlister, being the Super Earth government, basically has the right to, at any time, and to not mention it ever, to just change what that rate is, or to say, well, this, service that you performed is now worth this much money, and so what, and so forth. Section 2.3 reads, in the event of the non-continuation of the alive status of the enlisted in the course of the rendition of services, a martyrdom payment shall be made to the immediate family members of the enlisted, defined as parents, sibling, heirs, and successors, minus any dispensations outlined in Section 1.3. So that's basically if your ship has been damaged or destroyed, that is paid for outside of it. The money that's used to pay for that is pulled out of your martyrdom payment. Section 3 is mainly about confidentiality and classified materials, and basically not being allowed to reveal any of these secrets. In Section 3.2 it reads, any information known to the enlisted outside of operational parameters, which is not considered customarily known to the general citizenship, and or which was not known to the enlisted prior to the commencement of this agreement, shall, for the purposes of clarity, be considered controlled classified materials. For the access of controlled classified materials, explicit advance written consent must be obtained by the enlisted. It also mentions that in Section 3.3 to read these terms and conditions that you need to read for this form in full shall be considered a breach of Clause 3.2. So basically, to fully understand these rules, you have to break the rules to read the full rule set. Once again, just kind of leaning into the satire of this world. Section 4.1 reads, unless otherwise stated, the enlisted shall be solely and exclusively responsible for any and all damages, harms, liability, loss, cost, expenses, craters, atrocities, and crimes, civil, uncivil, and war, caused, created, or generated during the course of the rendition of services. The enlisted hereby indemnifies the enlister and the authorized command structure, including but not limited to any employees, representatives, heirs, and successors, against any costs, challenges, losses, damages, or expenses without limitation arising from or relating in any way to the rendition of services by the enlisted. Basically, this is also saying that, hey, if you're a Helldiver out there, if you do anything, if you cause harm, liability, loss, if you cause a crater, an atrocity, if you cause a crime that's a civil, an uncivil crime, or a war crime, that is completely on you. It in no way can go back to your higher-ups or your representatives. That's on you. That's your fault. You did that. Super Earth government, nope, can't be touched, is basically what this is saying. It also says in 4.3, the enlisted shall not hold the enlister in whole or in part responsible for whether they return in whole or in part. Once again, just hilarious. Section 5 is about termination. This is once again, hey, as a Helldiver, if you're just injured too bad, then that's just too bad. Your contract's been terminated. If you're kind of thinking traitorous thoughts, boom, you can have your Helldiver status terminated. And then also, for any reason, it's not required that you're made known, your enlister can say, just no more, goodbye. The final section is Section 6, General Provisions. 6.1 reads, the enlisted consents to personal information, including but not limited to biometric, patriotic, and demographic data, to be collected and processed by the enlister, the authorized command structure, and the appropriate agents of the Super Earth Armed Forces and Democratic Council. 6.2 reads, the enlisted consents to personal samples, including but not limited to flesh, bone, and blood, to be collected and processed by the enlister, authorized command structure, and appropriate agents of the Super Earth Armed Forces and Democratic Council. 6.3 reads, the enlisted provides unequivocal and irrevocable consent to the use of experimental weaponries, technologies, and narcotics. So again, this is basically just saying that the Super Earth government can take and use for pretty much anything, any type of experiment that they want, your flesh, bone, and blood for at any point. 6.4 reads, the contract shall be considered binding upon reading, in whole or in part. So basically, this entire contract that the Helldivers enter once they complete their training, you don't even need a signature. Basically, just reading a single part of it. And when they say in whole or in part, basically means even if you just read a single word on this plaque, you're in. You got to abide by all these rules. And then in parentheses it says, for the purposes of the elimination of doubt, the enlisted spending 1 second within 15 meters of a copy of the contract shall be interpreted as the contract being read. So even there, they tell you what being read is. It's spending 1 second within 15 meters of a copy of the contract. Please take in mind that it does not say 1 second within 15 meters of the copy of the contract that you have to be looking at it. You just have to be within 15 meters of it for at least 1 second, and then you're basically in. You've essentially signed away your life. But it's for democracy, right? It's for democracy. This is just such a wild. The fact that somebody with an Arrowhead took the time to put this together, and then the fact that they put it in game, and then the fact that somebody went in game and took it outside of the game and put it up on the wiki is just such a testament to this game and to this community. I love it so much. Thanks guys for watching. Again, this was a bit of a different style of video, where it's a bit more off the cuff, where I just kind of read and ramble through these videos. These are a little bit easier to make as I've gotten much more busy in my own personal life. Thank you for watching. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this contract. If you're 100% okay with it, me personally, it doesn't bug me that much. I'm spreading democracy. I'm on the right side of history. There's no way that any of this is going to backfire against us. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. But just be aware that, we can say what we want in the comments, but I might have to report you to Super Earth High officials. But as always, everybody, thanks for watching, and don't forget to go spread democracy.
I do agree with you, though.
That's why. Wait. What?